Okay, hello, hello, hello. So you can see we're starting a new unit. It's got the green cover to it, right? It's our second part of our geometry unit. And we're going to be talking about circumference today. So you're going to go to page 5. When you do the work in your packet, we're going to have the packet separate. I know for some of you, you like it better if they're all together. So, I mean, they're going to have holes hopefully stapled in them, but if they don't, you know, punched in them. But if they don't, you're going to keep them together somehow, okay? Because it just didn't work out this last time. So, okay, so there's some basic things we got to know when we're talking about circles. Okay, so when we look at this, we have different parts of the circle that you need to get to where you know, okay? At the end of your test, you're going to be asked these, so you might as well just learn them, okay? So a segment is is a distance between 2 points. It's finite, it has a beginning and an end. A ray has a beginning but doesn't have an end. It's infinite and it's straight. A line has no beginning, no end. It's a straight connection of dots, right? Okay, and so a segment is finite that connects two parts of a circle is called a chord. In Spanish, it's called the cuerda. Okay, so that's a chord. Okay, a diameter is a special type of chord. It's a special type of chord, just like a square is a special type of rectangle. And what it does is it cuts exactly through the middle of the circle. It's the longest distance between two sides of a circle. It's the exact middle of the circle. So when we look at that, we're going to say the pink part is the diameter. Okay? So it's called the diameter. It's called diametro. Okay, that measures the width of a circle. We're going to use that, and it's an important measurement to understand. Okay, the other part that we need to know is called the radius. Okay, or in Spanish, the radio. So you want to be able to tell the difference because when we look at these, we often see that students can't tell the difference or forget the difference between radius or diameter, or they're just not being careful. So they don't look for it close enough, so they don't figure out that they calculate wrong because they're using the measurement for the radius instead of the diameter, or they're using the measurement of the diameter instead of the radius. Now, what they found was there's a relationship, because the other thing we're going to measure here is called the circumference, which in Spanish is called the circumferencia. Okay, so when you look at that, notice how similar the names are. That's because it's based off of Latin, and the Spanish language is based off of Latin. So now we see a relationship between the circumference and the diameter. In old times, they might have measured around a circle. It'd be a really cool lab to have measure around the circle, measure the diameter, make a table of data, graph it. And what we'd see is it's a proportional relationship. Okay, remember our proportional relationship said that we had y equals k times x, right? Okay, well, so what we're going to have is our proportional relationship is going to be the circumference equals the diameter times a number we're going to call pi, which pi equals 3.14. So you want to make sure you know that. This is a relationship you're going to really need to know. Okay, but what we need to know from that then is we're going to come into here and we're going to say that the diameter of a circle, look at that, the diameter of a circle is always 2 times the radius. Because maybe what you need to see is that in all actuality, if we look, here's the radius, but this is also a radius. And from P to Q is also a radius. Matter of fact, from P to S is a radius, from P to N is a radius. So we could say that we have the radiuses, our radiuses could be described as Pn, say PQ, we could say PO, We could say PR, and we could have PS. And all of those are going to be equivalent. They're all the same measure. And what we can also say is that our diameter is QR. Okay. But we also could say that we have some other diameters in there, because we could look and say that here's a diameter right here from S to P and all the way across. Let's call this T, right? So this would be ST. And any two segments, any segment in it that cuts exactly across the middle of the circle is called diameter. And they're all going to have the same length, because that's the thing about a circle. It's the same length from the middle. So what that means is when we look at this, we could say that the diameter of a circle, here's the diameter, right? There's the diameter. It is 2 times the radius, because here's that radius and here's the radius. It's 2 times the radius. And we could say the radius of a circle is 1/2 of the diameter. You really want to write that down, because I'll just be honest with you. Even I made a mistake when I was just trying to rush through it and give you these instructions. So you want to write these down, because if I can make that mistake, don't you think you can make that mistake? Now the difference is I know it well enough that I caught my mistake, right? So if a radius is, say, 15 inches, what's the diameter going to be? Well, the diameter of a circle is 2 times the radius. So what we would say is the diameter equals 2 times the radius, right? Which means the diameter is going to equal 2 times 15. And remember, it's inches. So what we wind up is that the diameter would be 30 inches. And it's going to be just in linear units. It's going to be to the first degree, okay? If the diameter of a circle is, say, 28 centimeters, what's the radius? Well, the diameter, if we look, we said that the diameter equals 2 times the radius. If I want to find the radius, how do I solve for radius? I would divide both sides by 2, which means the radius is going to equal the diameter divided by 2. So for this is a formula, right? We're going to use that formula. So if the radius equals the diameter divided by 2, then that means it equals 28 centimeters divided by 2, which means it equals 14 centimeters. So you would answer that the radius is 14 centimeters. Make sure you're giving me that answer. The radius is 14 centimeters. Okay. All right, well, let's look what we're going to do next. Now what we're going to do is use a formula to figure out the circumference. Now remember, we talked about this a minute ago. And so what we know that if we have the diameter is 2 times the radius, so we can either say that the circumference is the diameter times pi, or we could say that if it equals the diameter times pi, then it also means that the circumference equals 2 times the radius times pi, which we would write as 2 pi r. I don't really know why we do it. I guess it just rolls off the tongue better that way. But either one of these ways is going to do you just fine. Okay, so the first thing we got to ask when we're looking at this problem is, what is this? Is that the diameter or the radius? Here's our two formulas, right? Here's our two formulas for it. We're going to use 3.14 for pi. Okay, so if we're trying to find the circumference, Okay, that means we're trying to find the measure around the circle, right? What the circumference is. We're trying to find the circumference. Then we're going to take 2 times pi times r, or diameter times pi, depending on which one they give us. And they happen to give us the diameter. So that means we're going to take the circumference equals diameter, which is 32, times pi, which means we're going to take that as 32 times 3.14. Our circumference is going to be 100.48 feet. And it's not going to be feet squared, it's going to be feet. You need to know the difference between that. When we talk about area, it's going to be squared, okay? So here, since you see how we did this, you should be able to do this one. So just plug this in, because remember, this is also the diameter, right? So it's 12 centimeters. You want to be careful there. We're talking about centimeters. And what you're going to do is you're just going to plug in. You're going to say the circumference equals the diameter times pi, right? And the diameter is going to be 12 centimeters. And pi is always going to be 3.14, which means you're going to get this. And we are talking about centimeters. Which means the circumference of the circle, which is what we just measured. We're measuring this part right here, right? The circumference of this circle is 37.68 centimeters. Not centimeters squared, but centimeters. So the circumference right here, the measure around the circle, is 37.68 centimeters. Okay? Now, look, the only thing we got to do now is remember how to find the area of a rectangle. You want to know this. So can you find the area of that rectangle? Go. The area of a rectangle is length times width. It doesn't matter which one you call length and which one you call width. Maybe it does to you, but so you're going to take, and remember what you're doing with this is you're going to take that you have 8 yards times 6 yards, which means you're going to take 8 times 6 times yards, which means we're going to have 48 yards squared. So just so you understand, looking at this, we're saying is this is a 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 8. So this is always 0, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so what we're saying is we're breaking it up. How many squares do we have? And there's 48, count it, there's 48 square yards. This is 1 yard right there. There's 1 yard, right? And so if we look, we could say that this right here is 1 yard. So when we have 8 yards by 6 yards, it's going to give us 48 yards squared. That's pretty much the gist of this. So that's what I got for you. That's what you have to know for the next lesson. Okay, good luck. And remember what we've been learning, all right? We talked about the other day that we've seen some research that says some of the things you guys have noticed are the most effective things that help you be successful. 1, you ask questions. 2, you participate. 3, these videos, research shows they are effective. Okay, so you watch the videos, you take notes, you take some responsibility and ask questions when you don't understand. You do the work. Research shows that practice, what we do when we do the ALEKS assignments, that's purposeful and helpful when you're getting some meaningful practice. That's what that is. Practice, calculating, being ready for the quiz. Okay. Hey, good luck with this. I hope it works. Hope you understand it. Come with questions if you don't. Good luck. Have a good night.